Okay, world and Petaluma, here we go again. It's time for the Midnight Skeptic, and here's my play in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, world out there, wake up. This is the Midnight Skeptic, show number 119. This will be broadcast. Well, tonight this will be up on YouTube, but the radio portion of it, KPCA.FM, and locally here in Petaluma, 103.3 FM. That'll be broadcast on May 7th at 9 p.m., the usual time. And today is Monday, May 1st. Welcome to a new month. Okay, it's so good to be woke. It's good to be woke. It's so good to be woke in the morning. Are you listening, Ron DeSantis? Okay, yes. The Midnight Skeptic is proudly woke, and probably has been since the late 70s. I'm kind of aging myself, but it's true. I was alive back then. That was after college, after the Navy. The late 70s, when the faint glimmers of political and social awareness and maturity began to finally take hold. But there's a few things I keep forgetting to mention in my intro, and that is, please send all hate mail, death threats, and constructive suggestions to themidnightskeptic@gmail.com. I'll get it. And I also keep forgetting to mention, and I think I forgot it the last three shows, my mission statement, which is to rid this country of all GOP MAGA head Republicans one broadcast at a time. This is my small efforts in the wide-ranging culture wars, which the GOP is doomed to lose eventually. It may seem like they have a stranglehold on authoritarianism, and they're going for it if they bring the orange sociopathic bloat bag back to run for president in 2024. But thinking long range, kindness, acceptance, inclusivity will win out. I'm optimistic about that. Okay. All right. Shout outs. Okay. Spotify and Anchor International Distribution to the EU, European Union, Australia, New Zealand, UK, Canada, I got 3 up there. Russia, 1 guy. Norway, 1 guy. Iceland, welcome Iceland. Probably living in Reykjavik, 1 guy. Or, I'm not actually sure it's a guy. Well, maybe it's a girl. Okay. Or a woman. All right. Puerto Rico, I've got 1. Yay! And in Colombia, 1. All right. It all helps. Okay, so I got about a dozen or 15 worldwide listeners. Okay, enough of that. Locally, John Crowley at the Aquas Cafe, Tom Gaffey at the Phoenix Theater, where alternative teens hang out and feel comfortable. Okay, Mickey Huff, Nolan Higdon, and Andy Lee Roth, who are the plotters putting out this Project Censored. And Andy Lee Roth specifically coordinates the Project Censored campus affiliates organizations. I don't know how many exactly there are, but 20 or 30 college campuses that have a Project Censored affiliate. Okay. Tim Conrad, Tom and Nancy, Kevin and Lori, Dave and Rosie, Rich and Kathy, Dennis and Megan in Rich Tiburon. Okay, in Reno, Chand and Michael, L.A., Aunt Jackie and her two daughters, Samantha and Melanie. Pacifica, Stan and Kathy and Susan, a like-minded progressive down there. Okay. Arizona, my brother Brandon and Mina, their daughter Andrea, my niece, and her husband Tim, and plus 3. Karina Hilliard, the snake removal lady. Arkansas, Shannon Reed. Florida, Amelia, Nelson, and Alice. North Carolina, in the Raleigh-Durham area. Dr. Dave Rubin. Dave, you're very involved in Democratic politics in North Carolina. Help elect more Democrats to combat the gerrymandering that has gone on unapologetically by the GOP MAGA heads in North Carolina. Up to Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger, Sonora, Robert and Colleen, Bob and Sandy, their 2 children, Brad and Martha. Martha the nurse, take care of yourself. COVID is coming back. Okay, Darrell, Judy, Leo, Lynn Quayle, Kathy Francis, John Gleason, and his 2 daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer, and then all the way down to Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. Okay, I made a mistake here. I didn't include good news to start off the show. I'm really trying to find as much good news as possible. I'll make it up to you next show, I promise. Okay, bad news. Briefly, Carolyn Bryant Donham. She's 88. She passed on a couple of days ago. Okay, who is Carolyn Bryant Donham? Donham. She was the white woman who Emmett Till was accused of harassing by just whistling. Okay, and Emmett Till, there's a movie out named Till. He was lynched, and I think this was down in either Alabama or Mississippi. I'm not up on the Emmett Till story for exactly where these things took place. It was in the South, and he was tortured and dumped in a river. Well, his mother up in Chicago elected to have an open casket funeral so that the people up there could see the mutilation and the terrible things that Southerners did to Emmett Till. And This will never be mentioned in Republican-controlled schools because it's CRT. We don't want CRT. Okay, that whenever I do that, that's my imitation of a ignorant GOP MAGA head politician. Okay, and I'll say this again: not all Republicans are MAGA heads. There are almost exclusively in the Lincoln Project compassionate, intelligent, thinking Republicans who you can have a issues discussion with without them reverting to, God says, or anything like that, or, look in their MAGA red hat to see what they should be saying. Okay, there are such things as good Republicans. Okay, there, I said it. All right. New topic. Silly bad news. Texas GOP MAGA head Republicans get sillier and sillier. The Texas Department of Agriculture has sent out a directive that, quote, all employees must dress in a manner consistent with their biological gender. MAGAs scream that wearing anti-COVID masks, going back a little ways, is government tyranny. We hate mandates. Okay. Of course, MAGAs are hypocritical, and this is a government directive. You're going to dress like a real man, and you women that make our coffee for us are going to dress like real women. I guess that means skirts and high heels. Oh, God. If you want to go back to the 50s, just go back to rural Texas. All right. Okay, I wrote something. Okay. Hypocritical MAGAs. Okay, well, that's a given. Okay. Real men wear cowboy hats and cowboy boots and bolo ties. Okay, bad Texas Christian news. The Texas legislature is considering House Bill 3614 and Senate Bill 763, which would allow Texas schools to hire chaplains to perform the work of school counselors, but without any required certification, training, or experience. The House bill sponsor is Cole Hefner. Cole. There's a MAGA head name if there ever was one. Apologies to liberal guys named Cole. Okay. A member of, Cole Hefner, is a member of South Jefferson Baptist Church in Lindale, Texas. The Senate bill is by Mays Middleton of Galveston, who also wants, are you ready for this? Taxpayer-funded vouchers for private Christian schools. Both of these creeps are Republicans, of course. All right. It is the goal of Christian nationalists, which includes Pentecostals and Baptists of various stripes. they want this country to be a theocracy. Seriously, I will dredge up, I don't have them in this note, this show, but I will dredge up some quotes, and I've run across them before, where they come right out and say that. Okay, new topic. Bad Tennessee news. Tennessee House Bill 137, which was from April 13th of this year, and Senate Bill 0817 from the 19th of April this year enacts, the Tennessee Higher Education Freedom of Expression and Transparency Act. The sneaky GOP MAGA heads are always calling the names of their bills a name that sounds good. Who could possibly be against freedom or transparency? They're just it's advertising. False advertising. That's the word I was looking for. They were introduced, Republicans introduced these bills. John Reagan, Ragan of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, said the bill strengthens, quote unquote, freedom of expression, but keeps colleges about advancing knowledge and not advancing political or social agendas. The bill allows students or employees to report schools or teachers that, quote, endorses or promotes a divisive concept. That's a phrase that's sprinkled throughout these bills. We don't want anything that promotes arguments or makes people feel bad or worse, makes people think. If you think too much, then you'll never be a Republican. Okay. I need a sip now after that rant. Bad news from the Daily Stormer. If you people out there don't know what the Daily Stormer is, it's the newspapers of America's actual Nazis. I mean, this isn't name calling. They are. They call themselves Nazis. Nazis. 5 years ago, in 2018, the Stormer's founder, Andrew Anglin, Anglin, wrote, this is a quote from his speech that he gave. The NRA is the country's premier pro-white and anti-Semitic organization. In fact, it is the only right-wing group of any kind in this country to have any success at all in the last 50 years. The white race in the U.S. has lost on, he's going to list these things that the right wing was unsuccessful about. Racial integration, feminism, homosexuality, abortion, prayer in schools, pornography, immigration, but has won. This is something that he says the NRA has won on. A single issue. Guns! We love our guns. We love to stroke the long, hard barrels of our guns. and show the world that we're real men. Okay. Montana, good news. Okay, you're probably saying to yourselves out there, finally, he's getting around to some good news. Okay, here it is. And I modified Montana good news by saying sort of. In the Montana House, Representative Zoe Zephyr will still not apologize for her blood on Republicans' hands comment. She is still allowed to vote on bills from the hallway. There's a picture online of her sitting on a bench out in the hallway of the Montana House of Representatives, sitting next to some friend of hers. Okay, but she's not allowed to speak or sit at her desk on the House floor. She said the 7 protesters who were arrested by police in riot gear were, quote, defending democracy. Well, they were. The Montana bill that was being discussed when she was kicked out of there and the 7 were arrested, the Montana bill would outlaw gender-affirming care. Okay. Which brings up, what is gender-affirming care? The stupid, ignorant, MAGA-head GOPers try to include as much as possible into what they call gender-affirming care, including sex reassignment surgery, which I absolutely guarantee you is not, repeat, not done on anybody in this country under the age of 18. A few of my more ignorant Republican friends and relatives always call sex reassignment surgery mutilation. Okay. And it's obviously to make it sound as bad as possible. But we, liberal, progressive, Democrat, blah, 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 see through that. They are trying to muddy the waters. Gender-affirming care ranges all the way from talking to a school counselor, to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist, to an endocrinologist who may or may not, depending on circumstances, prescribe puberty blockers and hormonal therapy, testosterone for girls who want to transition to a trans guy, or oh God, I'm having a brain freeze on the female. Damn. Okay, the female hormone for guys who are who have gender dysphoria and want to transition to female. Yeah, damn it. Brain freezes, when you get to a certain age, they happen. I put up with it and work through it as best I can. Okay, where was I? I'm way off my notes. Gender affirming care. Okay, bad news. Missouri, they're getting worse and worse. They're giving Florida a run for their money. Missouri, this April, became the first state to severely restrict gender treatments for people of all ages, not just under 18. But for adults, talk about dictatorships, and they'll probably call it freedom to choose or something like that. Okay, all ages. There's been bills introduced to restrict gender affirming care for all ages. Okay, last year, Florida joined 6 other states in banning Medicaid from covering some form of gender care for transgender people of all ages. These bans affect an estimated 35,000 beneficiaries. Other Republican states are attempting to ban it for anyone under 21, and other states, Republicans, for those under 26. This is the dystopian hellscape if Republicans actually gain more power in this country. Please, please, whenever an election comes up, vote out all Republicans. I don't care if they're good Republicans, compassionate, intelligent Republicans. Vote them out. Let them start a party all over again. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Terry Schilling, the president of the American Principles Project, a right-wing advocacy group pushing to ban transgender rights, said, okay, and this is a quote from him, focusing on minors, meaning under 18, had been a short-term political calculation. His organization's long-term goal was to eliminate transition care altogether. American Principles Project was founded in 2009. And I Googled this organization, and I might do a short segment on just American Principles Project. Boy, talk about a hateful group. You can't have transition care. We hate you. We want you to disappear and all commit suicide like God intended. All right. Okay, what did I do here in my notes? Okay. I had a little arrow drawn to the previous page. This is an addendum to the Daily Stormer thing that I just talked to you about. Okay. 5 months after this Daily Stormer article came out that I just talked about, the NRA's Wayne LaPierre. When you look up douchebag in the dictionary, there'll be a picture of Wayne LaPierre. Okay, anyway, he said in a speech, he laid out the NRA's vision of America. And this was back when in the Trump administration. Quote, President Trump's election, while crucial, can't turn away the wave of these new European-style socialists bearing down upon us. Be very, very afraid, gun fetishists. And European-style socialist is a dog whistle, meaning Jews. Okay. And then he gave an example of these new European-style socialists, such as Bernie Sanders, Tom Steyer, George Soros, of course, Michael Bloomberg, and Chuck Schumer. Fox News touts the Great replacement theory, immigrants, drag queens, black people, and trans kids and liberal teachers are taking over, and Democrats want those people to have the vote. Not on our watch. Okay, I need another sip of orange juice here. Okay. Bad news from India. Narendra Modi's right-wing government, the BJP, I didn't write down the actual name of this. It's an Indian name, Barahama Jaranta Peoples. I don't know. Okay, it's just the BJP party's control has completed its purge of Darwin's theory of evolution from school textbooks throughout the country of India. The National Council of Educational Research and Training, INSERT, okay, this is an acronym, NCERT, which is a state-run body under the Federal Education Ministry, has also purged the history curriculum of references to the Mughals, capital Mughals, who, as a group, ruled the Indian subcontinent from the 16th to the 19th centuries. The BJP wants to replace a constitutionally secular India with an ethnic, religious Hindu state. Are you taking notes on this, Christian nationalists? Okay, I forgot that I made a mistake on last week's show. I was ranting about the origins of the hate-filled, fear-filled, non-thinking Republican Party, way back in the last decade. And I mistakenly said it began with the Reagan-Carter presidential election, but I said it was 1969. I was wrong. In 1979 election, which Reagan won, with the help of Jerry Falwell and his hate-mongering. And it is actually, the election was held November 1960. Oh, God, I did it again. 1979, and Reagan, who won, took office in 1980. My bad. Okay. Also, I ran out of time last week, and I had to leave out a 5 minutes worth of ranting. Okay, and so I will do that now. I know that you guys out there were just on the edge of your seat wondering, when is he going to make up for that? Are we going to hear it? Well, here it is. Okay. This came under the heading of bad news. Greg Steube, capital S-T-E-U-B-E, he's a Republican from Florida. Representative Greg Steube on introducing House Bill 734 in Florida. This is his speech of ignorance and hate on the House floor there in Florida. Okay. Whew. And let's see. Okay, what he actually said, I'll get to it in a second. Okay, the GOP's war on transgender Americans is going national if they can. GOP MAGA heads have given up on the idea of small government. Conservatives have always been for small government, non-intrusive government, fewer regulations. I guess that only applies to businesses or corporations. But for personal contact, we want the government controlling who can love who can marry who you can identify yourself as. Okay, I'm off my notes, obviously. Okay, the GOP's war on transgender America is going national if they can. The GOP has given up on the idea of small government and are trying to use the coercive power of the state to reshape society in their preferred mold, which coincides with Christian nationalist evangelism and the money-making pastors that suck money out of their congregants' wallets and pockets. In Kentucky, there will be no discussion of puberty. Can you believe this? Until the 6th grade. In Iowa, GOP lawmakers have introduced a bill outlawing same-sex marriage. Okay, the Obergefell decision from the Supreme Court settled that, supposedly. GOP stupid MAGA heads are going after it again. Okay, GOP lawmakers have introduced a bill outlawing same-sex marriage despite the SCOTUS Obergefell decision of 2015. An Idaho bill would criminalize giving mRNA vaccines of any kind. Oh, boy. Okay, now here's the quote from Greg Steube, Republican representative in Florida. Okay, quote, "For thousands of years in human history, we've recognized as a species," oh, he's using educational words there, "that there are women and there are men." You can tell women from men in Texas because they dress like real men, and women wear skirts and let their hair grow long. Okay, I'm off my notes. The temptation to just rant sometimes overcomes me. Okay, and there are women and there are men. Yet, over the last several years, there has been a perversion in our culture by the enemy. He used that word. Trans people and the LGBTQ community in general, he views as the enemy. He used that word. And the left, meaning more enemy, has completely embraced the lie to erase this lie of gender and to convince you that there really isn't gender and that gender is fluid and that you can be whatever you want whenever you want. Again, more lies. Okay. Gender dysphoria doesn't work that way. It is a real condition that some younger people up to older people have. There aren't many less than 1.5% of the whole country's population suffers from gender dysphoria. And I'm sorry for using the word suffers. Okay, it's a condition. It's not a bad thing to have. It's just a condition that some people have. It's not a choice, which is what stupid-assed Christians and GOP MAGA heads would have us believe. If I want to be a girl today, I'm going to be a girl so I can go into a girl's bathroom and watch women take a pee. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, that's my stupid imitation of a Republican. Sorry. No, actually, I'm not really sorry. Okay, so that was Greg, Mr. Intelligence, Stube. Okay, that was the end of his quote. You can be whatever you want, whenever you want. Again, more lies, unquote. This MAGA head is totally ignorant, as are most GOP MAGA head Republicans. Let's see. They're ignorant about gender issues. And they don't want to know. They want to remain purposefully ignorant. Okay, the bill passed 219 to 203 on strict party lines. The bill would ban transgender athletes from female sports. Okay, and I've said on this show, when I've discussed this issue, and I believe that I'm right from all of my readings, kids in grammar school, K through 6th or 7th grade, there is no important difference in athletic ability between girls and boys. Okay, when boys go through puberty, then the testosterone that their gonads start kicking out causes muscle growth, increased bone density, increased red blood cell oxygen carrying capacity, all things that are good for athletic competition. And even within those parameters, there are great variations. So, in my not so humble opinion, these banning of trans females from female sports teams shouldn't take effect until after middle school. Okay? Now, the hateful Republicans, MAGA heads, will always point to Leah Thomas, and I wish her happiness in her life. Who is Leah Thomas? She was the Penn swimmer who transitioned after her sophomore year in college when she was a rather unremarkable swimmer on men's teams. Well, then she transitioned. She set out a year, took female hormones, and joined the women's swim team. I don't think that was right of her, but if she is more comfortable in her trans female body now, I wish her well. and I wish her happiness, but she shouldn't be on a girls' swimming team or any other kind of athletic team. Okay. But stupid ass MAGA head GOP Republicans don't see it that way. A lot of these bills in Republican controlled states state specifically no no trans women from K through grade 12 on women's sports teams. It's overkill. Of course it is. It's just an expression of GOP MAGA head hatred of the trans community. God, that brain freeze. I still can't think of the female hormone. It was on the tip of my lips earlier in the day, and I thought to myself, make sure testosterone for men and forget it. Okay, onward. Okay, this I'm going to. Okay, I mentioned good news on last week's show. I'll say it again. Okay, good news. Mallory McMorrow. She's a Democrat, state senator from Michigan. Yay, Michigan! They have Democratic majorities in both houses and a Democratic governor. She's Mallory McMorrow is the state Senate majority whip. Tudor Dixon in Michigan ran for governor and lost big time, running almost exclusively on a hate the trans community platform. But in Michigan, where with a population of about 10 million, there are only 2 TWO kids who applied for a waiver to play on a girls' sports team as transgender. There is no minority too small that Republicans won't hate on them and pass laws wasting the people's time to try to express their hate. There's no hate like Christian hate. In the 2022 election in Michigan, the Michigan GOP ran more ads about anti-trans issues than inflation issues, which they said they were concerned about. Okay. Less than 5% of the voters in Michigan listed trans issues that they said would cause them to vote for a Republican. Okay. Now, how much time do I have? Okay, it's almost 50 minutes. Okay. Good news. This is what I was going to end my show with, aside from the makeup from last week's show. Okay, good news. The number of self-described nuns, I'm not talking Catholic nuns, I'm talking N-O-N-E-S, that kind of nuns. Those are the people that when they answer surveys say that they are self-described, no affiliation with a church or a synagogue or a mosque, and they are self-described agnostics or atheists. Their number is increasing. They're the only category when these religion surveys are taken by a Gallup poll or anybody. The other categories, Protestant, Catholic, Mormon, evangelical, Jewish, Muslim, those are all decreasing, either a lot or slightly. The only one that is increasing are the nuns. Thank you, Generation Z, Generation X, and all youth who seem to be quite woke and accepting of inclusiveness. This is a bad omen for the GOP MAGA heads. All right. Oh, I've got about 8 more minutes. Okay. I'm going to do a complete riff now. It may seem to some of my listeners out there that I'm quite angry, and to a certain extent I am, but I'm not an angry person. I like to laugh too much, and I realize that the fallout from the administration of the orange sociopathic bloat bag from 2016 to 2020, there will be lingering reverberations of these hateful MAGA heads that attend his rallies and get sucked into donating money for his legal defense, since they're tired of giving money to Steve Bannon for his We Build the Wall grift. It kind of, I said before that the orange sociopathic bloat bag is not the cause of MAGA heads. He's a symptom of it. What the election of the orange sociopathic bloat bag did was rip the scab off of a festering wound on the American populace. It allowed the ooze of the hateful Christian nationalists and racists, mainly racists, people who are just discontented with their lot in life, and there is some justification for their discontent. There is a huge gap that Bernie Sanders talks about all the time, a huge gap between the upper 1% and the rest of us. And that gap, through a more graduated taxation system, should be instituted. Again, on last week's show, I said that the Reagan run for the presidency was aided by that fat blob Jerry Falwell. He's dead now, but they brought out the congregates from Baptist churches out of the pews and into the voting booth. Well, it kind of worked. Ever since then, the GOP MAGA heads, they weren't MAGA heads back then. They were just hateful GOP Christians. They've been solidly in the camp of the Republican Party ever since. And so one of these months, I'd like to take a road trip and go into the Midwest, better known as the Heartland, and just ask questions about why so many people in that area just dislike Democrats so much. You know, I'm a I'm a Democrat, even though I'm still a registered Republican. And that goes back way to the early 70s in my Navy days. Okay, enough riffing. Okay, I've got to kind of get ready to download this onto YouTube. So what I'm saying right now is going to be up on YouTube tonight, and it will be broadcast on kpca.fm, locally 103.3 FM on Sunday the 7th at 9 p.m., my usual time. All right. Whew. Okay. Out music. My cat was up here when I started the show, but she bailed on me.
You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic
all that
on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats.
I can't emphasize this enough, how important it is to pet your cats. Relieve your stress. Okay? It helps. Believe me.